Imagine a moment when the leader of the Soviet Union walked into a luxury hotel believing he was secure, only to discover years later that nearly every conversation, every meeting, and perhaps even his most private discussions had been secretly monitored, not by traitors within the Kremlin, not by rival communist officials, but by American intelligence. At the height of the Cold War, information could be more powerful than tanks, bombers, or nuclear missiles. Entire governments depended on secrets, military strategies, diplomatic negotiations, technological breakthroughs, and political rivalries all revolved around information that neither side wanted the other to obtain. Yet in one of the most audacious intelligence operations of the 20th century, the United States managed to turn a symbol of Soviet prestige into an intelligence goldmine. The operation was so successful that for years Soviet officials remained completely unaware of the extent of the surveillance. And the target was no ordinary visitor. It was the Soviet leader himself. To understand how such an extraordinary situation became possible, we need to return to one of the most tense periods of the Cold War. The world of the 1950s was divided into two competing camps. On one side stood the United States and its allies. On the other stood the Soviet Union and the growing communist bloc. The memory of World War II was still fresh, but a new confrontation had already emerged. This conflict would not usually be fought with direct battles between American and Soviet armies. Instead, it would be fought through espionage. Every diplomatic summit became a battlefield. Every embassy became a listening post. Every foreign visit represented an opportunity. American and Soviet intelligence services engaged in a relentless contest to collect information while preventing their own secrets from being exposed. Both sides understood a simple truth. The nation that knew more could make better decisions, and better decisions could mean the difference between peace and catastrophe. By the late 1950s, Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev had become one of the most recognizable political figures in the world. Unlike Joseph Stalin, who had ruled through secrecy and fear, Khrushchev projected a more visible and energetic image. He traveled abroad. He met foreign leaders. He spoke directly to international audiences. He often made headlines with bold statements and dramatic gestures. For American intelligence agencies, Khrushchev represented both a challenge and an opportunity. His public speeches revealed much about Soviet policy, but what intelligence officials truly wanted were insights into his private conversations. What did he discuss behind closed doors? How did he evaluate American power? What were his genuine concerns and intentions? These answers could provide enormous strategic advantages. The problem was that obtaining such information was incredibly difficult. The Soviet leader traveled with extensive security. His staff carefully controlled access. Counterintelligence precautions surrounded every visit. Breaking through those defenses seemed nearly impossible. Yet American intelligence officers were constantly searching for opportunities. And one opportunity would soon appear in a place few people expected. A hotel, not a military base, not an embassy, not a secret bunker. A luxury hotel that would become one of the most important intelligence battlegrounds of the Cold War. When foreign leaders visited the United States, they needed secure accommodations. They required meeting spaces, communications facilities, and areas where diplomatic discussions could occur. To most observers, these hotels appeared ordinary, elegant, prestigious, and comfortable. But intelligence professionals saw something entirely different. They saw possibilities. Walls could hide microphones. Furniture could conceal transmitters. Telephone systems could become collection points. Entire rooms could be transformed into listening stations without guests ever suspecting a thing. As Cold War tensions intensified, American intelligence agencies became increasingly sophisticated in their ability to gather information through technical means. Engineers developed miniature listening devices. Specialists learned how to conceal surveillance equipment in everyday objects. Teams practiced installing devices quickly and secretly. The technology was advancing rapidly, and soon it would be tested against one of the most valuable intelligence targets in the world, the Soviet leader himself. What happened next would become one of the most remarkable examples of Cold War espionage, and it would reveal just how far both sides were willing to go in an invisible war of intelligence. If you're interested in Cold War stories like this, consider subscribing as we continue exploring the hidden operations that shaped history. The stage was set, the target was approaching, and inside an American hotel, preparations were already underway. The opportunity arrived when Nikita Khrushchev prepared for one of his highly publicized visits to the United States. Such visits attracted enormous attention. Newspapers followed every movement. Television cameras captured every handshake. Diplomats prepared carefully choreographed meetings. But behind the scenes, another group was preparing as well. American intelligence officers. For them, the visit represented a rare chance to get closer to the Soviet leader than would ever be possible inside the Soviet Union itself. The challenge was obvious. Khrushchev would be protected by Soviet security personnel. His staff would inspect rooms. His communications would be monitored. Any obvious surveillance effort would risk a major international incident. The solution required patience, technical expertise, and extraordinary secrecy. Long before the Soviet delegation arrived, specialists began examining the facilities that would host important meetings and accommodations. Every room was studied. Every wall was evaluated. Every piece of furniture was considered. The objective was simple: create a system capable of collecting information without attracting attention. This was an era before digital technology. No hidden internet connections. No miniature computer chips. Everything relied on analog engineering. That made the operation even more impressive. Tiny microphones had to be concealed inside walls, lamps, electrical fixtures, and furniture. Wiring had to remain invisible. Recording systems had to operate continuously without being detected. The work demanded precision. One mistake could expose the entire operation. Yet the American intelligence community had spent years refining these techniques. Cold War espionage had become a science. Across the world, both superpowers were engaged in similar efforts. Embassies were bugged. Conference rooms were monitored. Diplomatic residences were targeted. The intelligence war never stopped. The difference in this case was the importance of the target. This was not a mid-level diplomat, not a military officer, not an economic advisor. This was the man leading America's principal adversary. Every sentence he spoke could carry enormous significance. As Khrushchev settled into his accommodations, he likely believed the environment was secure. After all, Soviet security teams conducted inspections. They searched for obvious threats. They relied on established procedures. But Cold War intelligence operations often succeeded because they anticipated exactly how those inspections would be conducted. The best surveillance device was not necessarily the most advanced. It was the one nobody thought to look for. As meetings began, intelligence collectors focused on far more than formal discussions. Private conversations were often even more valuable. Leaders frequently revealed their true opinions only when speaking informally, away from cameras, away from prepared statements, away from official records. Those moments could provide insights that no public speech ever could. What worried Soviet leaders? What assumptions guided their decisions? How confident were they in their own military capabilities? How did they view American strength? Answers to questions like these could influence policy decisions at the highest levels of government. Meanwhile, the broader Cold War continued to intensify. Berlin remained divided. Nuclear arsenals expanded. Strategic bombers stood ready for missions that everyone hoped would never occur. Military planners on both sides prepared for scenarios ranging from political crises to nuclear conflict. Information became one of the most valuable resources in the world. The United States invested heavily in reconnaissance aircraft, satellites, code-breaking efforts, and human intelligence networks. But technical surveillance remained particularly attractive. Unlike spies, microphones did not defect. They did not become nervous. They did not change their stories. If properly installed, they simply listened, and in the case of Khrushchev's visit, they may have listened to some of the most important conversations of the era. The intelligence gathered from such operations rarely produced dramatic Hollywood moments. Instead, it provided something far more valuable: understanding, a clearer picture of how Soviet leaders thought, a better assessment of their intentions, a stronger foundation for American decision-making. Yet even successful operations carried risks. The longer surveillance continued, the greater the chance of discovery. And if Soviet officials uncovered what was happening, the diplomatic consequences could be severe. The operation was producing results, but the most dangerous phase was still ahead, because eventually every secret operation faces the same question: how long can it remain secret? The greatest intelligence operations are often defined not by what they collect, but by how long they remain hidden. As the surveillance continued, American intelligence analysts began assembling a clearer picture of Soviet thinking. Fragments of conversations, diplomatic discussions, comments made away from public audiences. Individually, these pieces of information might seem insignificant. Together, they created something invaluable: context. During the Cold War, misunderstanding could be deadly. A military exercise might be interpreted as preparation for war. A political speech might be mistaken for a direct threat. A diplomatic disagreement could escalate into an international crisis. The more accurately American leaders understood Soviet intentions, the lower the risk of catastrophic miscalculation. This was especially important during the Khrushchev era. The Soviet leader was known for unpredictability. One day he might issue harsh warnings against the West. The next day, he could promote peaceful coexistence. His public image often appeared contradictory. Determining what he truly believed became a major priority for American policymakers. Intelligence collected through surveillance operations helped fill that gap, not by revealing every secret. No intelligence source is ever perfect, but by providing enough information to reduce uncertainty. And in Cold War strategy, reducing uncertainty could be enormously valuable. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union was conducting similar operations of its own. American embassies abroad were constant targets. Diplomatic residences were searched and monitored. Listening devices were discovered in unexpected places. The intelligence war operated in both directions. Neither side trusted the other. Neither side could afford to. As years passed, stories began emerging about the remarkable lengths both superpowers had gone to gather information. Some operations sounded almost unbelievable. Microphones hidden in gifts, devices concealed inside decorative objects, entire rooms engineered for surveillance. The Cold War transformed espionage into a contest of creativity as much as technology, yet the hotel operation stood out because of the status of its target. Very few intelligence victories offered such direct access to a rival superpower's leadership. The operation demonstrated something important about American intelligence capabilities. Success did not always require dramatic covert action. Sometimes it depended on preparation, patience, technical expertise, and the ability to recognize opportunities when they appeared. As the 1960s progressed, the world entered some of the most dangerous moments of the Cold War: the Berlin crisis, the Cuban Missile Crisis, escalating nuclear competition. In these tense years, information gathered through intelligence operations became increasingly important. Leaders on both sides were making decisions with global consequences. Every reliable insight mattered. Every verified piece of information could help prevent mistakes. And every advantage could influence the balance between peace and conflict. Eventually, however, no secret remains hidden forever. Rumors circulated. Former officials spoke cautiously about past operations. Researchers uncovered fragments of previously classified activities. The public slowly learned that behind the ceremonies, speeches, and diplomatic visit of the Cold War existed an invisible battlefield. A battlefield where microphones could be as important as missiles, where engineers played roles as critical as soldiers, and where intelligence officers worked constantly to uncover what adversaries desperately wanted to conceal. The story of the Soviet leader being spied on inside his own hotel was not simply about surveillance. It was about the broader struggle for information that defined an entire era, a struggle in which knowledge became power, and power could shape the future of the world. But the most fascinating question remained unanswered. What impact did operations like this ultimately have on the Cold War itself? And did intelligence victories of this kind help prevent a much larger conflict? That answer would emerge in the years that followed. In the end, the most remarkable aspect of the operation was not the technology. It was what the operation represented. The Cold War was often described as a contest of armies, missiles, and nuclear arsenals. But beneath the military buildup existed another struggle entirely: a struggle for information. Leaders made decisions based on what they believed their adversaries intended to do. The better that information, the better the decisions. Operations like the surveillance of Soviet leaders' hotel room did not win the Cold War by themselves. They did something subtler and, in many ways, more important. They reduced uncertainty. During crises such as Berlin and Cuba, uncertainty was dangerous. Misreading an opponent's intentions could trigger escalation. Intelligence that clarified those intentions gave policymakers a stronger foundation for judgment. For the United States, that advantage mattered enormously. American strength during the Cold War rested on more than military power. It depended on technology, intelligence, diplomacy, and the ability to understand a rapidly changing world. The same nation that built reconnaissance satellites, advanced aircraft, and global communications networks also built intelligence systems that supported strategic decision-making. The hotel operation became one example of that larger effort. It showed how American intelligence agencies combined engineering, planning, and patience to penetrate environments that appeared secure. It also showed how seriously both superpowers took the battle for information. If a luxury hotel could become an intelligence battlefield, then almost any location could. The Soviet Union eventually learned that its leaders were not immune to surveillance, even when traveling under heavy security. And American officials learned that technical intelligence could reveal insights that public speeches and diplomatic communiques often concealed. The broader lesson was clear. The Cold War was not fought only in missile silos, submarine patrol areas, or military command centers. It was fought in embassies, conference rooms, telephone networks, and hotel suites. Sometimes the most valuable victory was not territory captured or weapons deployed, but knowledge acquired quietly and invisibly. That invisible war shaped the decisions of presidents, premiers, generals, and diplomats for decades. It influenced negotiations, military planning, and crisis management at the highest levels. And in the case of the Soviet leader who was spied on in his own hotel, it revealed a truth that defined the entire era. In the Cold War, even a private conversation could become a strategic asset. For more stories about the hidden operations, intelligence battles, and technological contests that shaped the Cold War, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and support the channel.